again to whoever might be watching. My name is John. This is Old Folks Boogie 2, and this is my 15 minutes. A little piece of just running my mouth for 15 minutes once a day to see if I can do it for a year. That's the gist of it. Anyway, today it's just, it was a hard day to gather thoughts. It really was. Yet too much news is combating each other here today. I mean, the impeachment, but Kobe Bryant, on the other hand, that really gives one pause. And I did talk about it a little bit last night, and what I thought was probably true did come true today. That the 9 lives taken out were 8. Kobe Bryant and his daughter, plus 6 other friends, and the pilot. I mean, it's really hard to deal with. Not me personally. I mean, it's just, I know it's going to be hard to deal with for a lot of people. You know, I like Kobe Bryant, I guess. I never paid much attention to him other than when I saw him on the news, and he was always doing something nice. I mean, he didn't, unlike others, you know, the news that he carried around with him wasn't, you know, something he just, you know, I don't know. It's hard to describe when people do the kind of thing that they do to get, no, I don't know. He was just a nice person, it seemed like. Just a nice person. So, I really feel bad for his family. I feel really bad for his wife and kids. Again, I'm not much on the empathy part of life. It's been a hard thing for me. But what really, I guess, clicks me and ticks me off to a certain extent is the fact that he took these other people with him. I'm going to revert back here to I spent time in the military, I spent time in Vietnam, and some of that time was spent in helicopters. I was part of the 1st Cavalry Division, the 1st Air Mobile Division in the Army. We used helicopters for everything. We traveled by helicopters day in, day out. We would march a little bit, but we would get picked up and flown to a different location, put down, and that's what we did all the time. And one of the things that, you know, we knew about helicopters then was that they are unstable and prone to being shot down relatively easy. Bullets whizzed through them. People sat on their helmets in helicopters. Now, again, this is a war zone, not the same thing at all. Don't get me wrong. Helicopters are dangerous. I asked a pilot once, a helicopter pilot, because I have helicopter dreams. I dream I'm flying a helicopter, or at least I did. I haven't in 30 years probably, maybe, but I used to have these recurring dreams of flying helicopters, but I always crashed. I always crashed in my dreams. Or I woke up before I crashed, I should say. I don't think I actually ever hit the ground, but I would wake up and, oh. But the first part of the dream, where it was actually flying nicely, was pretty good. But anyway, I talked to a pilot once, and I said, really, I was young, I was in my 20s, and I said, you know, to the man, also a vet, and I said to him, really, how hard is it to learn to fly one of these things? And he said to me, if you can imagine yourself standing on the rounded end of an egg, both feet planted on the rounded end and the nose pointed at the earth, so you're balancing yourself on this egg, and you have to do that from the minute you take off and the minute you land. That's what you're doing. You're balancing yourself on an egg, because he said that is the only way you can look at it and make sense of the whole thing. He said flying a helicopter is not intuitive. It's learned and learned and learned over and over and over again. But as anybody knows, helicopters are prone to failure, and they are one of the things that when they fail in a god-awful way. usually taking a bunch of people out with them. We hear about it in this country and overseas. Helicopter accidents on excursions, helicopter accidents on just, they happen. Because helicopters are inherently dangerous. They are one of the most dangerous forms of transportation out there. Coming soon, hopefully in the next 10, 15, 20 years, helicopters will give way to, electrical hovercraft. What they're developing now, the drone technology taking to a level where you don't have to balance on that egg, because it's not one thing holding you up. It's 6 or 8 or 12 of these things, and they're designed to work together in conjunction. And the computer power is there now to do this. Come on. They tried to make a helicopter out of an airplane. It's called the Osprey, the V-22. The thing is dangerous as hell. On the ground, in the air, or getting from the ground to the air and from the air to the ground, whatever it is, that's a dangerous piece of. And a helicopter itself is, safer than that, but only because it doesn't try to do two jobs. But as soon as you turn that airplane into a helicopter, it becomes extremely dangerous. And getting it. They lost a lot of people in the beginning of that program. It wasn't something that came easy. I watched. It wasn't something that came easy at all, and it's still not coming easy. The government's still not sure they want to fund the B-22. And I don't see anybody doing commercial work with it. All of the big stories about commercial. Anyway, this is off topic. We can go on about that sort of thing forever, and who cares? The problem here is that the one thing that Kobe Bryant didn't learn, and nobody taught him, is the rule of thumb, or no, I don't know about a rule of thumb, but the rule is the more flights you take in a helicopter, the more chance that you won't come back from one. There is just, the problem that I see, and the problem for me, and the anger that I have, is because he took other people with him. I saw him on the news today talking about, he was trying to balance family and balance work, and the best way to do that was to not be in traffic, but to fly over top of it and be there at 15 minutes, boom, boom. Live there, but, and he did that for years. And he did it safely, obviously, because he was still here after he retired. So, okay, that's great, but when you're doing that, hopefully it's just you and the pilot, and that's it. You're taking your life, and the pilot's taking your life in your hands. In this instance, because he had flown so many times safely and so many times landed safely, and probably had the same pilot, probably was friends with the pilot too. I don't know for sure, but my guess is he probably was. The guy's been flying for 20 years. He's probably flown for Kobe Bryant many times. But nonetheless, every single time you get up in a helicopter could be the last time you get up at all. And but then to put that onto another group of people and take them out with you when you go is just, that's the horrifying part to me. I'm sorry. Other people may not see it that way. Other people, and some people may, I don't know. Maybe I'm a lone wolf here but I think it's tragic, more than tragic, that what happened took the lives of the 7 other passengers. Come on, people. That's what they said yesterday. Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and 7 other people. Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and 7 other people. Well, now we know who the 7 other people were. They're part of his family. They're as much of, if you're on that helicopter with Kobe Bryant, you're as much a part of his family as anybody else, because you're there. And you've got money, or he's got money anyway. And that's what allowed this. That's what took this out. I'm not saying I wouldn't have done the same thing. I have, but I don't know. I'll never have that chance because I will never have that much money. I couldn't afford to rent that helicopter for one flight, let alone back and forth from home. That's never going to happen to me. Maybe, it'll happen for you. Maybe if you're watching this and it's 20 years from now or something and you run across this, maybe you will be one of those people that become wealthy enough to take a helicopter ride someplace off and on, or all the time, or own your own helicopter for all that matters. Um, but just remember, well, you know what? It shouldn't matter, because 20 years from now, hopefully there won't be a helicopter actually left flying on Earth unless it's in the military. You know, I don't think we'll need it. I don't think when the new transportation era happens over the next, it's probably going to take about 50 years for everything to happen. But I think when the new transportation era comes about, it'll be almost praying like, everybody will just have their own personal hover pack almost. You'll go out, you'll sit in it, you'll tell it where you want it to go, and it'll go there. It'll account for other vehicles in the sky. There'll be satellite navigation. You won't have to do anything. You just put in the address you want to go to. Now, you can own it, probably not own it, actually. You'll probably call it when you need one and send it back to do another job for somebody else when you're done. And it'll do it all robotically, or it'll be handled, mostly robotics, but there'll probably be handlers back in the backside of things. And there'll be redundant motors, and the chances of you actually having an issue, if they've done their job right, and if the software works correctly, and everybody is coordinating correctly and building toward the same goal, you'll have a phenomenal ability to go just about anywhere quickly, easily. You'll still have auto transportation, ground transportation if you want it, but if you need to get a distance, bing bang bong, you get your little helicopter, floater, hovercraft, whatever you want to call it, drone. Get your drone and get on it and go. They'll have drones for 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10. They'll probably have drones for as many as, but nonetheless, we're not living in that day today. And yesterday was a tragedy, and of just epic proportions, really. The number of people taken in one fell swoop, it just doesn't get any worse, really. But complacency, thinking that every helicopter ride is going to be as safe as the one you got off of the last time, that's a wrong thought. That's an absolutely wrong thought, because even helicopter pilots will tell you, well, maybe they won't, but they've told me a helicopter is a dangerous machine, a very dangerous machine. And, I don't care what the excursion pamphlets tell you. I mean, it's okay. I've been up in helicopters since I got out of the Army. I've had a couple of rides. I went out to Doylestown Airport once. But I knew when I was going up in that helicopter that I was at risk. Great to be back on the ground, and it was a fun ride, but I was at risk, and I knew it the whole time. I was on an open house a couple times. I took my daughter. When Anne Marie and I went to the airport for an open house when she was a youngster, I wouldn't take her on a helicopter ride, but I did take her on a single-engine airplane ride, which a little bit safer than a helicopter, but not a whole lot. One engine, one pilot. But we got back safe on that too. And it was a great flight, and she enjoyed herself. I did too. Never did take Sam up. I don't know why. But helicopters, by their nature, by their very nature, they're just inherently unstable. And the only thing holding them up in the air is a wish and a prayer, truthfully. Sikorsky, he should be forgiven for what he unleashed, because I can't tell you how many people we know that have been lost. Celebrities, famous people, people with money, through helicopter crashes, airplane crashes. But anyway, yesterday was sad. Today we acknowledge that. And we're down to our last 15 seconds, so we're going to start the sign-off procedure. If you like us, subscribe, but it's okay if you don't. Thanks for watching anyway, if you did, or at a later point. Good night. Take care of each other.